Believe it or not, it's another VO podcast with three guys who are full-time voice actors at different stages of life, career, and location.
But they have formed a bond and work together to hold each other accountable and help each other on their VO path.
Three guys from different backgrounds working together, helping each other, and sharing with you along the way.
Hey, what are we calling it again?
It's another VO
podcast.
Okay, guys. Sorry, I get it. Come on, you're not my dads.
Hey, looky. It's another VO podcast. I don't know how in the world we've gotten this far this fast. Hey, there's Jake and Alden.
What are you
Hey,
guys doing in here?
Hey,
Man, it's like I haven't talked to you guys, and it seems like a long time. I don't know why.
Like
I know we
hours.
talk a lot, but
I
yeah.
know. What the heck?
Yeah, and I don't have my headphones on. I've not recorded this way before, but I'm going to try it, and I don't think
I've been doing it the last couple episodes, and it's not interfered. It didn't seem to have interfered with anything.
Yeah, I don't think it does either. I'm going to try it, and
Which
if
I
it
kind of
does, it
liked the
does.
no headphone thing.
Yeah, it feels so much better. I'm
I just
not a
closed
headphone guy.
my email so I don't get the bing bing whenever I get emails.
Oh yeah.
I don't want that
I'll try
coming
to
through the
remember that.
podcast.
We kind of came together today and this is going to be a very open, these are just our 2 cents about some of this stuff, and there's no fact base much to this other than we're going to be talking about all these awards and nominations,
Yeah.
and the different ones and why they are different and whatever, and we're going to pick on Jake because Jake has a telly.
Hey.
He has a telly, so we'll get him to talk more about that in a minute. But what this comes from is all the SOVAS announcements have been coming out, and I think a lot of people like me at first. I was seeing well, this podcast got nominated and that one got nominated. I'm like, well, we didn't get nominated, but I didn't know at first that they were paying for the nominations, which I just didn't know. I just am not that involved with SOVAS.
Real
I knew
quick, that's
one
paying
voice
for the possibility of a nomination.
the possibility of a nomination.
Yeah.
You're nominating yourself for a nomination, I guess.
Right.
Or you're putting your name in the hat, but you're paying to do that.
Paying for the possibility to be nominated.
Right. SOVAS does that. The telly is the same way. You're paying for those. And then if you win, you got to buy the trophy. You got to pay for that.
Or is it mandatory to buy it? Could you win it and then not?
I don't think
get a
so. I
trophy?
don't think it's mandatory.
Okay,
No.
so you
I
could
don't think
win and
it's
just not get a trophy.
Yeah.
And then you could create your own, I don't know, get some construction paper and just be
heck
like,
yeah.
SOVAS award for this and hang it up.
Hold
in
up
your
a fork.
office.
Look, it's my
Yeah.
SOVAS fork.
Yeah.
But and I don't want this to be thought of the other way as people are saying, well, you're just putting down people that got nominated.
No,
we're
not at all.
I think it's great if you can do that. If I were in the financial situation, and I were making the right money and it's something I felt I wanted to do, I'd do it. But on the other hand, when I look at, coming up next year in, the summer or early fall, One Voice will be coming around. And there's no fee to be nominated for those. And if I remember, there's a panel of judges and they pick, and it's all kept hush hush and confidential, until they're announced. And that just seems a little more fair, maybe. I don't know. But that's just my 2 cents, right?
Yeah. It's hard to say, man. I'm a little confused by how awards work. I mean, I'm slowly learning more and more. And one, I thought that you did have to pay for One Voice, but finding out you didn't, that's okay, cool. And I'm kind of hoping, going over my, what I've done so far this year, and I was like, is there anything that I could submit for an award or whatever? I don't know. I mean, but as far as paying, I've never really cared about getting recognition in that sense for anything I've done, whether it's acting or anything like that. I'm not super competitive in this world in terms of hey, we're all voice actors, but how many awards do you have, kind of thing? You know what I mean? I never cared about that. I'm only competitive in ping pong, disc golf kind of thing, like sports and stuff like that.
Totally
but as far as
different.
winning awards for acting or voice acting or anything like that, I really don't care, because as long as I put out something that I enjoy or can show other people and be proud of, then I don't care if I get awarded for it.
Yeah, heck, that's what it's all about. I mean, and for me, I guess this is really being off the beaten path. I just want a paycheck.
Yeah,
100%. That should be the goal.
I just want to make the money, and I want it to be a good amount. I don't want to do it for peanuts. Uh,
No,
and
right. Yeah. Well, and when you say we're giving our 2 cents, you may be overvaluing our opinion.
Yeah.
that's possible. That's highly
But I
possible.
think for
Yeah.
the most part, I'm on the same page as what I hear you both saying, that the awards, I'm not driven by getting an award. What drives me is I do wanna make money at this. I
Mhm.
wanna
Right.
make my clients happy with the product that I'm giving them. If my client loves it, I don't care if it wins an award. That's
Right.
my award, honestly,
Right.
Right.
you
I'm
know?
there with you. And
Now
then when it comes to the podcast, I look at that as and we know between the three of us, we're always watching the downloads and seeing what's going on. But what we're looking for is that email feedback or somebody mentions somewhere out in the wild that, hey, I just started listening to, I've even gone all the way back to the original voiceover ladder episodes and I've listened all through those. And now I'm listening to another VO podcast and you guys have so much good content. And that
Yeah.
makes my day.
Yeah, I care more
Yeah,
That's
about
where,
that, people's
agreed.
feedback, what they get out of us, what we can
yeah,
provide to them
yeah,
versus like, "Oh,
because,
this is award-winning podcast."
And it's
yeah,
feedback that we can use, so
Yeah.
if we look on just plays only and we don't get the email feedback, then we can kind of guess, okay, that was a hot topic.
yeah,
Let's continue in that idea in choosing topics in the future. Or that was a great guest. Let's, pick more guests
right,
like that. So we can only
right.
go by that. But if we get an email and you say, here's what I liked about this episode. Jake had this to say, Troy had this to say, Alden didn't talk, and that was great. You know,
We
or
have not
whatever it
gotten an
is.
email like that yet.
You haven't got an
Not
email
yet.
like that? Okay, well, that's
No.
good. But that's feedback that's helpful to us and helps us do even better with future episodes, which
Right, right.
great.
Right, and as I'm sure everybody knows, in VO, there's only this many subjects you can talk about. You're
Right.
talking about space, equipment, this, that, the other, and then it becomes getting interesting guests on that have different perspectives. And speaking of that, I'm hoping maybe if we can talk him into it, maybe next week we can get Charles Coates back with us,
Yeah.
and we can come up with a good topic to talk about because it's a lot of times having even that fourth bit of input is a big help. But hey, what about the last few weeks? Mary Lynn Wissner, followed up by Jen Henry, and then here we are by ourselves. Maybe that's why we feel a little lost this week. I
Maybe,
don't
I
know.
don't know. And I don't think we're necessarily feeling a little lost. It's just a little different when you go from, interviewing some people, which I can't wait for people. Well, I guess at this point you would have heard the Jen Henry episode. I don't want to give you a peek behind the scenes, but the Jen Henry episode hasn't aired by the time we're recording this, but it will be. Is it today's Thursday, right?
Yeah,
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 it
So
comes out
Jen's
yeah,
tomorrow.
episode will come
yeah,
out tomorrow.
Yeah,
Okay, so
yeah.
yeah, that's what you meant by that. My bad. Okay, just
yep,
scratch that.
yep.
It's
And then,
I like it's 'tis the season. We're moving to Thanksgiving and
Mhm.
holidays, and hey,
yeah,
here's your gift. We have some extra interviews this month.
We do, and it's gonna be awesome.
It is.
yeah, and we've got JMC's going to be with us in November,
Nice.
and I know we're all going to have lots of questions, and he'll have some great insights. Going into next year, Tom Antonellis will join us. Tom does like a lot of people, and I know Mark Ryder does this as well. And they kind of take December off from
Mhm.
coaching and any extra stuff. It's just I'm going to do my work, but I'm really going to cut way back on everything else during December.
Well,
And
there's
I
not
highly
really a lot
respect
out there
that.
to do.
No, and I highly respect that. I think that's great. And now that they've said it, I thought maybe I should do that. But I thought, well, heck, what do I do extra? I don't know. I don't know
I
what
think
I'd
the
cut
biggest
out.
difference you see in the drop off in December is just like, everyone's kind of slowing their roll. They're not shut down, so to speak, but you don't see a lot of jobs being posted. And you definitely, with your email marketing, like I remember like come second week of December, people just aren't opening their emails. And it's because a lot of them, they're like, well, I'm done for the rest of the year. So it's like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think December 15th of last year, I just shut down my marketing emails for, like basic almost a month. I think it was about 3.5 weeks. And then I picked it back up that second week of January and turned it back on, kind of
That's
thing.
probably
But
the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Probably the right
Yeah.
thing to do.
and it does kind of suck, but at the same time, you'll still get some auditions that'll pop up on the pay to plays. Every now and then you'll get some agency auditions too in December, but everything just kind of slows down. So that's just something to prepare for,
Yeah.
and be ready
Yeah,
for.
for sure. For
Yeah.
sure.
I agree.
So,
For most clients, that's true. Now, I did have a client last year that I had been working with. I hadn't done any jobs for, but they kept getting back to me as like, man, we love your voice. We want to use you for something. And finally, I think they had some marketing funds left at the end of the year. And they're like, we want to
Yeah.
prepay you to do some promos or to do some videos, voiceovers for us in the next year. And they did. They prepaid for that. So
That's what's up.
that is something that could be available in December as people are winding down their budgets. They've got a
Yeah,
little
if you
marketing
have,
money left to spend. They can
Yeah.
invest it.
And especially if you have government entities that you work for, they are adamant that they have to spend that money. Yeah, for sure. That does happen.
So maybe
Kind of
finding new
flipping back
clients, Jake,
to,
like you're talking about, is not as reasonable, but keeping touch with your old clients, your current client list,
Oh, 100%.
pretty good
yeah,
idea.
for sure. And that's a good time to do it. You know,
Yep.
you send out those reminders, Christmas is coming and, I'm going to try to shut down this week and that week or whatever.
Yep.
Hey, flipping back to these awards, I get things every now and then, and I don't even know who they are or what affiliation they are, but it's for podcast a lot. I mean, I've had several emails. Either it's an awards thing and you pay $200-300 to get nominated and blah, 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 blah. But I have found that I latched onto a site over the weekend that does some rankings of podcasts based on downloads, et cetera, et cetera.
Oh, yeah.
And we are linked in, of course, with VO Life and all this. It's all, to me, it's all one thing. I mean, I know we're two separate in a way, but we are ranking in the top 10% of VO podcast. I was pretty pleased with that when I looked it up. And, our downloads are up there with a lot of other people's. So thanks, everybody.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks
thanks
we
for
didn't
that.
really
Thanks.
realize
Again,
that.
that's what means more to us.
It does.
That's-
And that really made me feel a lot better. But I'm just not a person, I guess, when it comes to all this stuff, that I'd want to pay just to get approval from somebody that didn't pay me to do that work.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
just me. I guess that's just where I'm at.
Well, there's a great satisfaction to me, and I think you guys share this, that we're apparently offering content that is helpful. And so if it wasn't helpful, I don't think people would keep coming back and listening to future episodes. So
Helpful
If it
and
feel
wasn't helpful, I don't
satisfied
think
that
I'd
we
want to
can-
do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Same here.
I mean,
Have
what
you
else are
guys
we-
noticed? And I caught this quite a bit over the weekend and last week, and I think it kind of started when Paul Smith put his thing out about the mass exodus.
Mhm.
Have you guys noticed how? And maybe depending on what groups you're in or where you're, if you see stuff, there's a ton of equipment being offered up for sale.
Yeah.
People are, interfaces, mics, this, that, I'm getting out of this. I've tried it for a couple years, blah, blah, blah. And I don't mean I saw one or two occurrences. I mean, I saw more than 10
Mm-hmm.
different listings for people saying, I'm getting out. And I have seen more and more posts by people saying, I've been doing this for 4 months or 6 months. I haven't got my first gig, my first order, my first anything, whether they're on a pay to play. And I saw one guy said he'd done like 200 auditions and had like 5 short list and wasn't, and I'm like, well, that's definitely a sign.
Something's going on. Yeah.
But, when somebody said, well, I had to do 80 and I finally got my first job, that's not a surprise,
No.
for some people. Some it takes 80 to 100 and then you might start hitting your stride. But I think what has happened is the people that have stayed in there and have gotten their training right and they worked on all their stuff and got it right, they're in there competing. But
Mhm.
that scary statistic that I saw over the weekend, that I believe it came from Sound and Fury, and my numbers won't be exactly right, but I'm going to be close. They had cast like 380 commercial spots, and it was 360 different people had gotten those spots.
Whoa. That's
So a couple of people
surprising.
booked a couple of them.
There's a few people that might have got more than one during that time from them, but it was a very high number of one-offs.
Mm-hmm.
So there is another thing of showing you it is a deep, deep pool out there. And not only is it deep, those that are casting or choosing don't necessarily go back to the same person again because they were a fit last time.
And something else I
Right.
want to point out, this actually happened kind of just like me kind of scrolling through the voiceover groups. Do you guys, are you familiar with the name Stefan Johnson?
Yes, sir.
That
Yeah.
rings a bell.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I mean, like, I've not yet met him in person, but the little interaction I have with him online, he's very, very kind, very willing to, like,
Yeah.
read comments. Someone had posted, and I think it was in the VOpreneur Facebook group. Someone had posted
Yes,
about,
yesterday.
yeah. So you saw this.
I did.
Someone said something like, hey, I get told all the time that, like, I'm really good or whatever, but I'm having trouble booking commercial stuff. And I'm probably misquoting this horribly. I don't remember
Right,
this
right.
exactly.
But
And it's not
you're
necessarily
right.
her post that stuck out to me, although I did highly relate. And this isn't, I'm not trying to toot my own horn or whatever, but I've been told by my coaches, I've been told by people I work with, like, man, you should be booking a lot, kind of thing. And while I do book, I don't book as much as I feel I should based on what people have told me.
Right.
And I'm scrolling through the comments, and Stefan Johnson commented on there, and he said, man, it took me almost 10 years to get into the commercial, like to book commercial work consistently. And even now, it's maybe 2 to 3 times a year, which that blew my mind for him, because I mean, like, he does other stuff other than voiceover. Like, he's very popular on TikTok and Instagram. He does his
Right.
food reviews, which are great. If you guys don't follow him, you need to check
Yes,
out.
they
He
are.
does some really good
They
stuff.
are.
He's entertaining guy to watch, but he's not, and he also does on-screen acting as well. But, like, just reading him say that, and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, so where am I at? Like, technically I'm 4 years, but really it's like year 2 of, doing this, trying this full time, and maybe even not even a full 2 years of doing as a business, just because I didn't start marketing till about October of last year. So I'm kind of in this weird mix. But even though I've been at this for what I, would consider a good amount of time, it's not been anywhere near 10 years. And he said it wasn't even until 10 years for him that he started booking that more consistently. And that almost like took a load off my shoulders,
Yeah.
like, do I want to be booking more right now? Absolutely. Who doesn't, kind of thing, But at the
Sure.
same time, to see someone like him who's very good at what he does
Right.
still, and then now only still maybe 2 to 3 times a year, that's that's super encouraging for someone like us, or I would say for me, like me,
Absolutely.
you know what I mean? And that's
Absolutely.
really cool.
Yeah, and I see a lot of times, and you guys see it too. Everybody talks about it's a game of numbers,
Mhm.
and
Sure it is.
and it's a game of getting quality, good auditions that fit you. And what I started doing last week and this week is I started researching some other agencies where in different areas of the country, where could I reach out to possibly open another door or different door and see some different work, because and Jake knows this, we've talked about it, that we sometimes, because of the agents we have, get the same audition from every one of them.
Oh, yeah. The bigger it is, the likely it is it's gonna cross
Yeah,
over.
but what I would like to see is more regional type stuff or smaller stuff that I'm a better fit for. I would rather be doing, something agricultural or even farm and equipment, implement companies, dealerships, John Deere dealerships and stuff, through smaller production houses or smaller agencies that are boutique and regionalized.
Yeah.
And so I started researching that, thinking I need more opportunities, but I need opportunities that fit me, not just broad. We're looking for a French Canadian accent. And I'm like, why do I even get this stuff some days? It has nothing to do with me at all. And I know that some of the agencies have to just bulk everything out. They can't take the time to sift through, well, this is best for these 20 people or 30 or whatever. And I get that. And some do, some handpick. So I started looking at that because it really resonated with me that you need a high number of good opportunities, not just a high number of opportunities. It's just like in the pay-to-plays. If you go in there and audition for everything, you're wasting your time. If you audition for 100 things and you're really only a fit for 25 of them, so those 75 are like, it's practice. No, it's not. It's not practice if it's not good for you.
You're hurting your booking
yourself.
ratio.
Yeah, you're hurting yourself. And I was as lost as anybody else when I started. I was doing that, and up until probably, a year and a half ago, I was doing that. And then I started scaling it back, and I said, well, I either have to reduce my accent and, work on I get in trouble when I say that. I need to create that character or that voice that I can step into that's more Gen Am from time to time. And that has helped some. But that still doesn't eliminate me wanting to work in my wheelhouse. And, I think that's the hardest thing here is when you have that niche and you find it and you fit into it and you book in it and you're not booking other stuff, you think, well, why is it I'm booking this and I'm not booking that? And this is just a huge crapshoot guessing game. You don't know what they want. They sometimes they don't know. It's something else, which none of this has anything to do with these awards, but it's a good conversation.
Yeah, it's funny. We start off with the awards, but it keeps leading us back to just all this stuff. And I mean, not to get off the topic of the awards, and awards are great. And again, I know we've talked about at the beginning, this is really just our opinions and our thoughts about things. Like, awards are great. It is great to be nominated for something. I think where the division comes from is if you got one voice where you can submit something you're proud of for free, and you can potentially get nominated for it and win an award, that's one thing. But to pay and then not get nominated, you don't get a refund.
Right.
So it's like I'm not harping on the Sovaas people. They've been around for a while, and that's great. I'm glad that they're giving another platform for voiceover artists to be recognized. But at the end of the day, and are we talking about that post that gentleman made earlier today? Are we mentioning that? I don't want to.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. So what was his name? Bill.
Paul Strickwerda.
Oh, sorry, not Bill. Shoot, Paul. Say his name.
Bill DeWeese-Roda.
Yeah. Well, okay. If you saw Paul's post about the awards, I mean, like, he makes great points on there, and it's just like, just check it out. It's a good post.
And as he said, it's his opinion. He doesn't have anything against anybody at Sovaas or anything. Hasn't met him, he said. And I'm the same way. I don't either. I enter they have a little contest where you read a news promo thing. Mm-hmm. And I entered it last year and made the top 40, was invited to come out there and participate live in the finals. But I didn't want to spend all that money to go out there for that. And I didn't realize that's how it worked.
Right. But like, okay, so like in the post, he talks about like, hey, even the actors who win Oscars have to do that. And he's like, yeah, but winning an Oscar doesn't, but winning an Oscar does something for someone's career versus winning a Sovaas doesn't really do much for your career, or at least so
he
it
doesn't
seems.
think so. Yeah.
He doesn't think so, right?
He
So it seems. So. Maybe some people see that and go, "Oh, you are." I mean, look, award-winning, just the tag award-winning voice artist already seems appealing. What award is that kind of thing?
It does. I mean, I'll be honest. I would love to have that on my email signature,
and I'm sure you will. I'm sure all of us at some point will be able to add that to our signature.
Let me ask this, because in 2020, I participated on a student project for LA City College that won a Film and Cinema Award.
Okay,
for LA City College. Should I put that on my bio?
What was the award called?
It's a LACC Cinema Awards. It's their student cinema.
Well, that's exactly what I would put on there, because who's going to take the time to look up the LACC? Like, it just, as long as LACC Cinema Awards award-winning voice actor. That's great. You've won an award somewhere. Like, look, you've won an award. That's awesome. I've won.
And I've had animations that I did for a filmmaker out in LA that's won some film festivals, but I don't put that on there.
But you could. That's what I'm saying. I mean, like, you have won awards in these select things. Look, I won Best Dressed at the 50s Day in my elementary school back then. So, I mean, granted, I'm not going to talk about that because it has nothing to do with voiceover. But I mean, if I was a model, I'd totally throw that up there.
There you go.
Best Dressed 50s Day.
I think my biggest accomplishment, and I can't remember the year exactly, but I had a country band and we won the True Value Country Showdown.
Hey.
And we got to go to Opryland and play at Opryland, and we opened for Gene Watson and somebody else. And then from there, you competed on a national level, and that performance at Opryland was to move to the national, but we didn't make it. But still, it was pretty cool to do that. It was fun.
I mean, I guess all I'm getting at is, like, look, awards are great. Some are obviously more prestigious than others, but if you've won an award, feel free to display that how you choose.
Sure.
Not to go overboard.
Sure.
But I mean, like, add it to your signature, add it to your website. Like, my Telly Award is on the website, which according to Paul's thing he posted, and how do you say his last name?
Strickwerda.
Strickwerda. Okay. According to Paul Strickwerda's post, I mean, like, you have to pay to get a Telly. Now, granted, I wasn't in charge of the project that I was a part of that got a Telly. I had no idea they were submitting it. I just got an Instagram message one day from the lady that hired me and was like, "Oh, by the way, we won a Gold Telly Award." And I was like, that's cool. And I wasn't even going to put it on my website because I didn't think of that. And then you both were like, put that on your website.
Yeah,
You know
sure,
what I mean? So I'm
sure.
like, oh, okay. I mean, it's cool to be a part of, but at the end of the day, it's like, oh, all right, cool. Well, after I put it
Yeah,
on my website, it was kind of just like, now what? And I'll tell you right now, I've not had one person that I've marketed to or anyone who's been to my website say, oh, you want to go telly? You know what I mean?
yeah,
It's like, it's
yeah,
cool to have, it's cool to see, like if you need some validation or whatever,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
for
if
sure.
just to have
I
it. But at the end
I
of the day,
do
don't
think
let awards fuel your
That's the bottom
motivation.
line
it's
right there. You
not
just hit it.
yeah,
Don't let that be your end goal.
right,
Yeah.
It's
right.
great. It makes you feel good, but a lot of times, and people talk about this all the time, they're handing out a trophy for everything, it seems.
Yeah.
So don't worry about it. Do your best work. And if you're successful and you're booking some stuff and you're making money and, you're proud of your work, that's okay.
Yeah.
That's good stuff.
You wanna be
That's,
proud of your work. You wanna be proud of
yeah.
the client,
I,
what you're offering your clients and
Yeah.
to the
yeah.
projects that you're voicing.
Yeah. I think the biggest reward that I've had thus far, and it's not in the job itself, but I had a client a few weeks ago call or emailed and sent me the thing I did for Ohio University, and he said the room was filled with tearful eyes. And that
Yeah.
moved me because I knew that meant I hit that read because I hit what they needed because they wanted to make that emotional move in people. And that's our job. So I did my job that day, and that made me feel fantastic. There's no trophy or anything that will give me a better feeling.
Troy
Exactly.
Holden,
And
making the girls cry since
Yeah.
1963.
yeah.
That's the freaking truth.
Yeah, don't get too cocky there, Troy.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, you're right. You're absolutely right. That is the goal. I mean, like when you said that, like I made them feel. It's just like when you watch like Game of Thrones and you hate Joffrey, and it's fun to hate Joffrey, but you know why you hate Joffrey? Because the guy that played Joffrey, Jack Gleason, did his job
He
so
did his
well
job.
that you hate him so much. But that's what
Yeah.
he wanted out of it. That's what the people who casted him, that's what they wanted out of him. We all are all that. We are all actors, no matter what the job is. Like I listen to this voice, like Troy said, and it makes me teary and emotional. Then he did his job. And
Yeah.
everyone's got something they've listened to, whether it's music, whether it's a voiceover or whatever, that's made them feel some type of way.
Oh, yeah. For
And that's
me,
the
it's
job.
almost every night watching television because
There you
I'm a
go.
very, I don't want to sound like not a crybaby, but things move me
Oh, me
easily.
too, dude.
I get very involved in people's character when I'm watching these shows. And, last night we've been watching Vikings off the History Channel, catching up on that. I hadn't watched it before. And last night was when Ragnar died, when he was put in the snake pit and everything. But to watch
Spoilers,
when they
everybody.
did the flashbacks on
Spoilers.
him and his appreciation for his children, and he knew he had lived this terrible life. He was torn between being a Christian and a pagan. He didn't know what he was. But to watch him flash back in his memories and all that really moved me because I thought, that it made me feel something I wouldn't have felt had they not run that scene and showed him going through those emotions
Mm-hmm.
and the things he
Yeah.
did. And for me, that's almost every night when I'm watching TV, somebody will pull something off to make me really feel something. And that's
Mm-hmm.
what we're supposed to do in this job.
Yeah, because you believed it.
I
Right.
did
You believed
believe
it.
Yeah.
You
And that's
bought
what we
in.
do. We try to make people believe what
Yep.
we're saying or what they're watching, or we help with that sometimes. And a lot of times, the voiceover isn't the star, and
Right.
that's what people need to
Right.
realize
You're
too.
just the
Sometimes
supporting
you're
actor.
just
You're just
right.
there.
You
Yeah.
are just an added piece to that.
Yeah.
And if you keep doing that,
What's that?
and if you keep doing that, keep making them believe, and then submit that project and $140, you could win a Sovis.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
Right. Or you could submit it to One Voice for free.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I will say,
I-
I don't know if you guys have ever seen any award shows or whatever, and I didn't stick around, but obviously the One Voice Awards were at the One Voice conference in Dallas, and I was actually at that point taking down a lot of the classrooms that were that had been up for the weekend, but I was seeing people filter in and they're kind of mingling outside of the hall where they had and it was just fun seeing everybody like get to everyone. They had like a little mini red carpet thing and they had a backdrop people were taking pictures in front of. And you know, in between waiting for people to get out of the classes, and when I was still waiting, you know, because I couldn't do anything more at that point, I'd go talk to people and everyone's in their nice suits, their dresses. Charles Coates was there as well. And we'll have to have him tell you about maybe what he wore to that award ceremony.
Yeah,
But anyway.
I saw the picture. Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny how he describes it. But anyway, I mean, it's really cool atmosphere. In like conferences, award shows are yet again just another place to come and connect with your fellow voice actors, meet new people, hang out with people you already know.
I look forward to going to that this year.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm looking forward to seeing you there because I more than likely I'm pretty sure I'll be volunteering there again. And again, I feel like just for me, how I am and what I like to do, I feel like volunteering is the way to go for me anyway.
Yeah, I got lucky. I don't know if we said anything on here or not, but I got lucky, and I'm going to be a presenter this year. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Chosen.
Well, I got chosen, but
got lucky.
Yeah,
He's lucky because he put in the work.
Well,
Right.
we're gonna talk about marketing, and it's not going to be a program or anything to sell. I don't sell anything, and I won't sell anything. But it's just how people who are on pay to plays and they're on Fiverr or wherever they are, and they're just not really sure how to get started. And it'll just help them dip their toe in the water and get started and experiment with it. And they have to do it all in Excel and you have to do it manually, but it gets you started. And then you can figure out if you want to jump into a program from there. Because, you know, in all honesty, marketing's not for everybody. We all need to do it, but it's not for everybody.
It's not for me. I mean, I basically force myself to do it, and even then, I'm just like I kind of like procrastinate. I honestly, it's the worst part it's the worst part for me. And
it is tough.
But I got to do it, right? And I have reaped the benefits of it, but it's still not enough for me to like get up in the morning and be like, I can't wait to market. You know?
Yeah.
Like,
I'm right there with you. It's tough, but what I'm finding is. Now that this year, I've really got in better routines, and you guys have been a huge help for that because we all try to keep each other accountable, and that's what we do. That's why we encourage people, get your accountability group. This has helped me get in a routine of I get up, I hit my auditions on pay to play. I get through my email if I've got work to do or whatever. And next thing you know, it's only 10:30, 11, and you're done with a lot of that. And sure, some auditions will filter in, but then you can say, all right, I'm going to spend the next hour looking for some new leads. And, you know, and I'll research things. And yes, you go down the occasional rabbit hole and you start watching something you shouldn't. And you go, wait, that's not what I'm supposed to be doing. Get back over here. And I still do things, you know, I still use a notebook. I still write things down. You know, this is what I need to get done today and when. And that's helped. But us just interacting back and forth, holding each other accountable, saying, you know, how's it going? Are you getting anything done? What are you seeing today? It's just that little reminder.
Yeah,
has
I think
kept me on a better track.
Has been a benefit for this
year.
It has. Just for this year. I mean, like just to have colleagues to talk to and, you know, friends to talk to at this point who get it, because you can't go to your other friends and start talking about voiceover and they're like, I am an electrician, dude. What do you want from me? You know, so
I don't know what you just said.
Yeah, exactly.
I think the biggest accomplishment that's come out of this year, and I've watched my last 4 or 5 months where I put in all my entries. And when somebody pays me, it's a line entry and a spreadsheet, and I color code it. Was it direct? Was it this? Was it that? What I have watched is, let's go back to January, and that list was, let's say, 50 entries or 60 entries, because I was doing a lot of $20, $25, $30 stuff here and there. And there'd be the few good ones. But what I like last month when I closed it out, I only had 22 entries. So that means I'm working less, but I'm making more.
Right. And that should be the goal. You know what I mean?
And
I'm not saying if you have more opportunities to make money, don't take them. But
right.
You know, when you start working for good rates, or you're just getting bigger projects kind of thing, where like you can kind of stop doing maybe some of that lower end stuff that you may not want to take time to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that should be the goal. I mean, like do less work, but for more money kind of thing, you know?
Yeah. Well, I know that we're kind of running out of time. We try to hold these things between 30, 40 minutes. And I wanted to kind of close on one thing. I want to say to Kevin Kilpatrick, whose Middle Class VO podcast is now history. They have moved on to a new name for their podcast, and they've changed it over, he and Bobby. And I want to congratulate them. They're sticking together. They're going to keep going. They're just kind of changing their approach.
Sure.
And I really miss them. I really miss that name because Middle Class VO really has struck a chord with me this year.
Yeah.
Because I got fortunate enough to book a regional, SAG job, but outside of that, it's all hard work, blue collar, middle class. And I kind of miss that. But I want to thank them. They were a huge inspiration to me when I first started. I listened to all their episodes just like I did Linda and JJ. And I hope we can somehow fill a little bit of a gap for people that want to hear from those that are kind of working their way up and they're hustling and trying and they're in that middle class and they're still, they're struggling. And I hope we can be there for you guys where I know we're not going to be Kevin and Bobby here, but that we can kind of fill a little bit of a gap for those of you that are down here scraping, pushing, doing what all you got to do to make this work. Don't give up. If you're having some success, don't give up. We're seeing this industry is changing. There's a lot of people dropping out. There's a lot of people still trying to get in. And I know it's tougher and tougher and tougher. We've had podcasts about it where it's harder to succeed on this platform or that platform. And it's none of that is to drive people away. It is just to warn you, you better be freaking mentally tough to do this.
Or you just better know what you're getting into. Do the research. Don't just say that concept of being a voice actor is cool, I'm going to try it. No, do your research because you'll probably, if you don't, be pretty shocked, at what you got to do. And then when you find out all the stuff you got to do, you may be turned off entirely. And I'm only speaking from experience when I've had friends ask me. I've had at least 3 people ask me how they could get into voiceover. And when I told them everything that I did, and obviously there's some caveats where it's like, you don't have to do this way. But when I told them everything it took, not one of them has gotten into voiceover.
And knowing what you know now, you would have front loaded a lot differently than you did then. Mm-hmm. You would have done more of this, and it would have cost more. But we had to do it as we had the money to do it.
Right.
But what I advise people now is be prepared to spend somewhere between $10,000 and $15,000 over a couple of years.
Yeah.
Because of all the coaching, the demos, the this, the that, the website, the
things
marketing.
You eventually just need.
It's a lot. It's a lot. And if you don't have an income stream to supplement that to get you going, I mean, if somebody thinks I'm just going to quit my job and do this for a living, I bet you don't. Not, it's going to take you 3 to 5 years to build up and get going. And there's another example talking about Stefan Johnson, talking about 10 years.
Yeah. So, I mean, and again, take that as encouragement if you are in this industry and you hear good things you get good feedback, but you're still kind of questioning, why am I not booking and stuff like that? Or maybe not as booking as much as I want to or what I want to kind of thing. Stick with it. Keep honing your craft. It'll happen, but it's only going to happen if you put in the work.
Yeah. And if you're not winning awards, don't worry about it. You probably weren't paying for the nomination, so it's okay.
Just don't let that worry you.
You could have been dumb like me, and I kept seeing all those things pop up, and I thought, wow, look at all these people getting nominated. How does that work? And then, I had to look into it. I didn't know you had to pay for the SOVAS nomination. So I learned that, which I'm just not that involved with that. But don't be discouraged. It's not about the trophies. It's not about the whatever. It's about the reward of doing the work.
Yeah.
And you'll get that from your clients and nothing feels any better. Nothing.
Agreed.
Yeah, I agree with that. Go ahead, Alden. Sorry.
Well, I was going to say, also this is an endurance industry. You have to persevere.
Oh yeah.
And getting into it, if you're still in the middle class and maybe that's where you'll be for your career, that's where we are. You have to know who you are. You have to know what you're capable of, what your cap is, what you're good at, and what you're not good at. So you can sell the things you're good at and not have to receive feedback from the outside all the time, because you're not going to get that. That's pretty rare in this industry to get the positive feedback. So you need to know what you're good at and be sure of who you are, because you're not going to get the awards all the time. To reinforce and tell you you're good at such and such.
Before we do go, I want to say two things real quick. Quick shout out to I'm pretty sure at least Troy saw this. Norm Izzard. Want to give a shout out to Norm Izzard. He posted in the VO Life group either earlier this week or later last week about getting an accountability group together. Another person who had took that leap and made a post about anybody interested in starting an accountability group. And from what I saw, he had at least 3 or 4 guys respond to that, and I hope that they got something off the ground. And yeah, again, just props to Norm for doing that. That's exactly what you need to do. And again, yeah, we talked about it. I don't know if we've had any influence on that at all, but if we did, thanks again for listening. And then I'm glad that worked out for you. And I hope your accountability group is doing well. And then also, I haven't mentioned this to you guys, but I thought it would be a cool idea, cool concept if we can get people to participate. But I think we should do an episode where it's like maybe like an AMA kind of thing. So, and that's an Ask Me Anything or Ask Us Anything, really. So if you're listening to this, if you've gotten this far, and I know we say this pretty much at the end of every podcast, please send us a question. I don't care if it's about voiceover, if it's maybe you have a question about one of our individual journeys or all of our individual journeys. What I want to do is get anywhere between 5 to 10 questions. I'll take more if more people write in or if you have multiple questions, but I'm just trying to be realistic. 5 to 10 questions, maybe. Email us at Another VO Podcast, and we'll compile those questions, and then we'll have an episode built around that. And if that works out, maybe we'll do kind of one every quarter if we can get more people to write in. But yeah, if you're listening to this and you've got a question, don't hesitate. Like, again, it can be about VO. It can be about maybe something about
disc
our
golf,
individual journeys. Yeah, disc golf.
hair.
Yeah, you know what? Anything like that. Anything like that. I don't care. Just send us an email.
Troy's
Ask us a question. Yeah, send us a question. Maybe it could be about Troy when he was touring, back in the day with the gospel music and everything like that. Ask us a question. Send that to anothervopodcast@gmail.com, and then we'll compile those questions and we will build an episode around it.
That'd be fun.
And then when that time comes, we'll do that and we'll release it and you can listen to it and it'll be fun.
That'll work. And then maybe the next week we can do an episode of Baby Billy's Bible Bunkers.
There you go. I don't know what that means, but okay.
You got to watch the Righteous Gemstones.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, watch that and you'll know.
Oh, Baby Billy.
All right.
Okay.
Hey, thanks again, everybody, for joining us for another VO podcast. We tried to stay on subject, but hopefully there's some things you pulled out of this that were of interest. Don't worry about an award. You don't need one. If you want a trophy, go down to the trophy shop, spend $20, let them engrave on there something that you want on there, that you did something you're proud of, and set that on your desk if you'd like. I mean,
go to a thrift shop. World's best mom.
Heck yeah.
Right there.
Yeah, there you go. A bowling trophy.
Yeah, bowling trophy. There you go.
Whatever. Yeah. Join us again next week. We're on every Friday. We don't ever know from week to week what we're going to do, but the plan is next week to have Charles with us. And between now and then, we'll come up with something spectacular to talk about. We'll catch you next time right here on another VO podcast.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of It's Another VO Podcast. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. You can also email us your questions to anothervopodcast@gmail.com or follow us on Instagram at Another VO Podcast. See you next time.